Oh, it's time. Hold on. Gosh. Okay, sorry. Had some shout outs to get out the way before the show this time. I couldn't do that on this episode. We got a whole lot more important things to talk about. But sheesh. Hello, everybody. It's your boy G alongside Alec Foster in episode.
Sheesh is right.
Right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. A whole lot of stuff going on in sports right now that we got to address. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to hear the conversation. Joining on the conversation yourself by following us on IG and TikTok at section.300 and Twitter at section sports. You see in the description below. So definitely reach out to us, and we'd love to chat with y'all as we discuss all this madness kind of going on in the sports world. So back into the episode, Alec. Before we even get into all of that, how you feeling? You good right now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you should be, because we were. It seemed like the Suns were going to run away with this series for a minute, but your Bucks in six predictions coming back to life as the Bucks have won the last two games, both of which at home, not even up the series. So it was a crazy game 4, a historic game 4, a lot of drama in game 4. Devin Booker got back in his suit and looked right, put up 40 points and a heroic effort that he tried to pull off. Chris Middleton matched that himself and showed out, and Giannis in a way stole the show with his heroics on both ends of the court. So it was an amazing game with excitement start to finish that I thoroughly enjoyed. And now, as with the series evened up, how are you feeling going ahead into game 5?
Yeah, I'd say I was never worried after the Suns protected home court, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do at this point in the stage in the game, in the finals. You expect to win your home games and hopefully steal one on the road, as the old adage, obviously, like that series doesn't start until someone loses at home, and both teams protected home court. So it's a 3-game series now. I'm loving the way Giannis is playing, obviously. Like, I've been a strong supporter of him this whole podcast, probably. And I'm glad that Middleton was able to step up. We know the narratives that Kendrick Perkins is trying to push with the Batman.
While you went there, I was gonna save it for later, but he cracked me up how he kind of swerved the L in that discussion that he brought up, because the whole thing was Batman and Robin, and now he's like, oh wait, no, actually it's the Justice League. Actually, Giannis is Superman.
Like, did he changed it up now?
Chris can still be Batman, but Giannis is not Robin. He's actually Superman. He does all other stuff. I'm like, bro, no, it was all
he
Batman.
Tried to remix it now.
You can't freak it just to dodge the smoke. We all see what it is, but it's all good. We let it slide. But I mean, to that point, it is true though, because Chris put up a heroic effort, and so did I almost call him Batman just there. So did Giannis with his effort as well in this game. So I understand it, but it was just funny how he remixed it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of him trying to freak it, like I tweeted before this series, it's time to get freaky. It's Giannis's time, man. He already has 2 40-point games in the series so far. I think he's got at least one more in him. And definitely, if it goes to Game 7, we saw what he did in the Brooklyn series when that one went deep. So I think he's got more of those incredible performances in him. He should be discussed, if he wasn't already, in that top 3 in the league discussion with KD and Bron.
A lot of regular season things, as we know, happen, and people tend to drop him down because of it. A lot of guys put on a great regular season, so we bumped a lot of guys that may not have deserved to be ahead of him. And now he's showing when it matters most that he really is that guy. So yeah, I believe he's top 3, top 5. He's up in the discussion for sure. So I hear you.
Yeah, but I love the way the Bucks are playing. I like some of the adjustments that Budenholzer has made too. Like I asked you about who Drew should cover, and then he did go ahead and put Drew on CP3, and he's been in shackles for the most part.
Gosh, man. Yeah, we'll get to it.
He's got like 15 turnovers in the last 3 games.
Go to it now. 5 in the last game, and he was a big reason why. If he was played up to the standard he had been playing throughout the playoffs, they would have won that game last night. Chris Paul you can point right to him, honestly, as the biggest reason why the Suns did not come out victorious in his last game. So he got to figure that out. But that is large. They're a big reason why he struggled was because of Drew and that defense they played on him.
Yeah, he was largely rendered a non-factor by Drew in that game, or the Druth, as you like to call him.
No, don't give that to me. They said that on TNT or something. I was confused as hell. So don't give that to me. I think
you threw it on the banner last time for the episode. Like, the Druth will set you free.
Whatever.
But that's why I think someone made a point on Twitter. I forget who said it, so I'm sorry. I'm not giving you your credit, but that it's hard to play that type of elite defense full game and like be as good on the offensive side as well too. I mean, you see some of the elite two-way players do it with like Kawhi or Paul George when he's at his best like that. Right. But it's hard to ask someone to keep up that defensive effort for 40 minutes and then also give you 25 or whatever.
Right.
So although I have been like kind of critical of him scoring wise, I think he can make a couple more shots. He's been blowing layups at the rim, that kind of thing. But
talking about Drew, right?
Yeah, talking about Drew.
Yeah,
I think I want to like shoot him a little bit of bail there because he has been spectacular on the defensive end, and he's been a part of the reason why they're winning these games, even though he's struggled offensively. But yeah, I think the Bucks are in a great position. I said Bucks in 6. Still sticking with that. The Suns obviously aren't going to go down without a fight. I think Booker continues his momentum from last game. I think Chris Paul has a little bit of a better game, but yeah, I like the Bucks' momentum like in this series. I like how they're playing. So
it's somewhat of a joke, and I've added to it a whole lot myself. But when Devin Booker is ready to play, he shows up in a suit. When he shows up in the rags, or not the rags, but the other stuff that he wore in Game 3.
That was weird. Game 3. It was
a nasty fit. I think there might have been some messaging behind it, so my apologies if so. But it just didn't work out visually for me. I wasn't feeling it. I've given a few people shout outs for their outfits. That one is not on that
one was
list.
not featured on League Fit.
He seemed a little out of character in that one, and the game.
He threw on the YG trench shoes.
Yeah, it was all over the place. And with that, the game kind of seemed to follow, not kind of be a mess in itself as well. But when he suits up and he seems to be locked and loaded, it shows on the court as well. And he did that in his last game. Got back in the suit, came back with 40 on by himself or on his own court. And definitely was a great sight. People were calling that one of the better offensive performances we've seen in recent finals history. So I don't know if I'll go back
for it. Refs pockets too.
Just a testament to his game. But and all the while having to deal with dealing with refs and the foul calls that he piled up early on, and trying to maneuver through that. There's a lot of discussion about makeup calls and calls that should have been.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said he was in the refs' pockets because he got away with that one.
How do you feel about the foul calling in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like consistently not good. Like, I don't think it favored one team either way. Like, I think it was like consistently like inconsistent, I guess you could say, because like the calls weren't so great, but for both sides. I mean, like Crowder got away with flops. A couple of the earlier fouls on Booker probably shouldn't have been fouls.
Right.
Or I think there was one on Aiden as well too, where Giannis kind of just like rammed his way into him, but got the whistle.
Yep.
So there could have been a little bit of home cooking, but I think both teams kind of got raw deals on foul calls, and then Booker got away with the blatant foul on a fast break. Everybody's eyes are on that one play, so you can't say like you missed that goal. Like
we know what normally is. He has 5 fouls. He knows one more foul and he's out. Even still, he's in the moment where it's a fast break and he wants to stop the fast break. He hacked intentionally, and they just ignore it. So it was like, what are we doing, man? So there's a lot of uproar, but it seemed like, as you said, I guess they made up for it a couple times afterwards and balance things out in a weird way. So we'll talk more later on about rule changes and how refs call things, as there's a lot of talk about FIBA and the Olympics and things going on. We'll get back to that later on. But for this game, at least, it was funny to see. And you brought up Jay Crowder flopping. I posted online. They should have rolled the credits after the game because it was like a movie watching all these guys acting on the court. It was crazy to see. But it definitely still was fun to watch. You talked about how you believe that the Bucks are going to win in 6 still. I'm going to actually I will admit I will slightly change my prediction, and I said Suns in 6 with my pre-series prediction. I'll say Suns in 7 now. I think that it's going to be one of them. It's another one of them series, as we see all playoffs long, where the teams just play a whole lot better at home. The Suns are going to step up at home, and Chris Paul, I believe, will get right, or at least good enough to benefit himself as well as DeAndre Ayton.
Question.
Go ahead.
So it goes to a game 7. You're favoring Booker and CP over Giannis in the game 7. That's where, like, I know, like, home court has made a huge difference, but come game 7, I usually take the best player in the series.
I hear you on that, but I will be honest. I think, well, if you go back to the Nets-Bucks series, I think if they had Harden and Kyrie healthy in that game 7, it would have gone the Nets
Harden
way.
was playing, man. He was mid.
Yeah, he was just mid. If they had Kyrie as well, is what I was implying. My apologies.
Kyrie was out, yeah.
Also, they were just half a foot away or whatever, a toe away from it being a different thing anyway. So sure. I do think that home cooking plays a large factor, and with the Suns being healthy and with just seeing the difference. It's like,
what if Scott Foster's ref in game 7?
With Scott Foster, that definitely plays a big part, because Chris Paul is 0-12 now with Scott Foster officiating. So that definitely is a nice narrative, and it could come into play. But realistically, just seeing how different of a game guys play at home versus away. Chris Middleton, I wouldn't say it's night and day, but him and Drew specifically seem to be a little bit different when they're on the road and can't seem to click as we have seen them do in these last 2 games. So if it goes to a game 7 in Phoenix, I believe Chris Paul, who's been waiting for this moment for his whole career, and these young guys who want to take advantage of the opportunity, wherever I'm going
to enjoy Chris Paul choking it away.
Whatever narrative you want to add to it, I think if it gets there, I think they will deliver. So I'm still roll with them. I'm rolling with our Arizona guy. Definitely rooting for DeAndre Ayton. I mentioned just in short. I'll add to it. When Chris Paul suffers as he did, DeAndre suffered as well offensively. He did still play great in his own guard and other areas of the court. Rebound, he had like 17 rebounds, whatever the case may be, and still play good on the defensive side. But offensively, if he can't get his touches because of how Chris Paul and his turnovers, or just not even be able to find him with how Giannis is just handling the middle. I think DeAndre suffers from it, but I think they will work that out. Monty Williams is a great coach who has these guys ready for the moment. I think he will adjust accordingly to get them back in the position they need to be to properly reclaim this series. So I'm sticking with the Suns, a slight switch up and adding a game and saying Suns in 7 now, but we're still rolling with Phoenix.
Yeah. So Suns and 4 guys crying his eyes out right now.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone
the moment is passed for him now.
I don't know how any guy realistically saw this series being in 4 games. This was going to either way. So I'm glad it is, because it's been great to watch, and thoroughly enjoying what we're getting from these guys. So any other things you want to address with the finals real quick before you go on to other things?
Yeah, I mean, I think role players tend to play better at home too. So I think Mikal Bridges, had like 27 in game 2 at home. Then the next 2 games he's combined for like maybe 15 points in both games. So maybe coming back home, guys like that kind of get it going a little bit more.
I will say though, Cam Johnson was out there looking like Dr. J.
Cam Johnson looked good all playoffs. He's just a solid player.
He was the best player on the court for like a nice little 10-minute run. What was that, game 3? I think that was. So he showed up, and I think if he keeps that up at home as well, it definitely adds to the Suns' ability to win this series. Yeah,
and for the Bucks, shout out Pat Connaughton, who's been playing really well off the bench too. He
caught a lot of slander earlier on in the playoffs because of bad shots, or whatever the case may have been. We joked about him a couple of times on here, I believe, but he's gotten right lately in this series, and glad that he's turning it around. And he adds a nice threat to this Bucks squad. Part that I saw for the Bucks, I believe that go all the way, was the loss of Dante DiVincenzo. But seeing how other guys have stepped up, PJ Tucker, while he hasn't scored much, he is great in other ways. Him and Brent Forbes and Bobby Portis deserves a major shout out for how he stepped up. And then, as well as you mentioned, Pat Connaughton.
Brook Lopez too. I feel like he's been an impactful player for them as well too, and kind of doesn't get the spotlight at all. So shout out to him too. But
seeing how they all have elevated their games definitely has led to why they're in this position they are now. So salute to them for their elevation. So great things across the board in these finals. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Looking forward to Saturday night when Game 5 goes down in Phoenix. So you want to make a prediction just for that game? I think. Oh wait, no, you already said you got Bucks in 6.
Yeah,
so
Bucks winning the next 2, buddy.
Yeah, Bucks winning the next 2. Yeah, I think Suns got it at home as well. So yeah, definitely gonna be fun. So we'll stay tuned for that. That's it for the finals. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, we are the unofficial home of LA sports. So we'll get to our LA things real quick. Our Lakers, as we always talk about, always news there, or at least something we can mention. There's been a lot of we talked with the Bucks just now, just about how guys found their roles and have elevated even within the spots they're in. For the Lakers, there are a few guys who were with their roles and didn't really know how to best play in the roles that they were in for our LA squad. We've heard from reports from various guys, Montrez, Drummond, Schroeder, Kuz, that they all believe they could do more for this Lakers squad. And yeah, as you smirk, I smirk too. Like y'all had all the opportunity to step up. Like we would have loved if y'all just did it, but instead y'all complain after the fact that you had the opportunity.
The only one I'll shoot bail for is Montrez, because I did think he kind of got a raw deal once we signed Andre Drummond.
Right.
And Drummond was kind of like one of the players that AD especially and Braun like kind of endorsed and wanted them to sign, and then was the major beneficiary in getting the minutes in the big man rotation for them.
Right.
Who I really didn't feel like Drummond deserved some of those playoff minutes, especially. And we could have used Trez's energy while he might have some deficiencies on defense. Like we were lacking energy and effort at times where I felt like he could have gave us a boost. So him and Gasol, I think, have the right to be kind of frustrated with how they were utilized last year. But the other guys, Schroeder had every opportunity. Kuz had an opportunity as well, too. Like I said, when AD and Braun were both hurt.
Yeah, he had a whole streak. He was a 25-point-per-game scorer. If you would have did that when they were out, we would have loved to see it. But that's not exactly what we got. He did have some good performances, but it wasn't what he says he believes he could do. So
and Drummond can kick rocks, in my opinion. Like he's talking about he's got an NFT dropping. That's why he was tweeting. I don't want to hear
Drummond or whatever he calls himself. Yeah, and trolling all that kind of stuff.
That's the empty stats king of the NBA currently right now. So I don't want to hear it from Drummond. Hopefully we don't re-sign him.
Right. So with us not re-signing him, what kind of direction would you like to see our team turn to going forward? You don't have to have names; it's kind of off the top of the head. But are there other what kind of style of play would you like our team to go in the future?
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't mind bringing back Gasol. I don't know what his contract is like, if he's a free agent or not, but I wouldn't mind bringing back Gasol for the backup 5.
Would you say
AD should be playing the 5? As far as your question, I was
going to ask that. Yeah,
I whatever his aversion to playing the 5 is, like get over it, because that's when we're at our best. And we've seen that the stats show it, and the eye test shows it. So get over it.
We've talked a lot about bumping AD down. What about the idea of bumping Braun down to power forward Braun?
Bumping him. Oh, okay. So like you mean putting him at the 4?
Point forward, we're going to call him. Yeah, put him at the 4 and get another wing.
I think that's when we're at our best. Like AD at the 5, him at the 4, Kuz at the 3. It's usually like KCP at the 2. I think KCP is a free agent as well. I'm not sure if I had that correct. And then hopefully, like I love the rumors surrounding Lonzo. It sounds too good to be true, though. Like for us to be able to get him, but I would love if we could get him. If we didn't, though, Schroeder only if it's less than what he's asking for.
Right.
But I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Kyle Lowry, who's a free agent as well, too. Because as we've talked about, LeBron's window isn't like huge. He talked about this week playing 3, 4, 5, 6 more seasons.
We've heard that before. I was going to save that for later, but yeah,
I guess he got a new shipment of HGH, but I don't think he's going to be playing till he's 42.
Not even about the longevity of it and the possibility, but he said he was going to win 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever finals in.
Oh yeah, we heard that in Miami,
and he stayed there 4 years and went back home. So not going to do the same thing here, but just saying he's made promises and ended up going the opposite way in the past.
Yeah, well,
not that it was an actual promise, but just saying he put out bold statements like that before and hasn't necessarily followed through.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic that he's going to play 5 more seasons. I think 2 or 3, 4 would be stretching it. He'd be 40 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, and I know Tom Brady was able to do it, but that's like an anomaly in football. Him being able to do that in basketball and still play at an elite level would be something if he can. Mm-hmm. I guess I won't knock it until I see it, but
and with Brady, like, and people are all in awe with Brady, and it definitely is a feat to be applied in a way for what he did with the reports of him playing through a MCL tear pretty much that whole last season we just went with the Bucks. But with that, just saying there's ways with quarterbacks you can kind of protect them and keep them from getting touched in ways. When you're a better player as physical as LeBron is, you bumping and physical as soon as every time you're on the court. So it's a lot harder to hide his age and things going forward.
I was saying he just missed the most time of his career too with the high ankle sprain as well. So like father time obviously does not discriminate. So I don't think LeBron can beat the duel with father time either.
Yeah.
So yeah, maximizing his window, bringing in another veteran guard. I would like to see a potential of Lowry maybe, or as we talked about with DeMar DeRozan, bringing in a third veteran scorer as well too. Yep. With AD having his injury troubles, hopefully he doesn't struggle as much with the full offseason this year. We don't deal with the injuries as much as we did this past year coming off the finals win, 70 days rest or whatever. But yeah, bringing in that third scorer is going to be key for us, I think. But I trust Pelinka to figure things out.
Got you. So do I. I would say same sentiments. One of those winning type defenders and a good point guard definitely is where we need to go. Whether it be the guys, whether it be Schroeder, understand that he's not getting $100 million if he wants to stay and be that guy, or others as you mentioned, finding the right pieces to get us back in contention as we should. I definitely believe that, as you said, that Pelinka will find the right guys for the job. So looking forward to this offseason. I think free agency officially opens up shortly. It's coming up soon. So looking forward to how all that plays out. There's been a lot of talk about Dame and other people potentially in trades. And while they may not be Lakers officially, they are playing alongside Bron on the big screen. At least we see Dame and LeBron as well as AD on screen for Space Jam 2, which is out now. And it's been funny seeing the reaction to it. We talked about how we're not going to nitpick it and all of that. Critics are deciding to do otherwise, and they're watching it with the heavy hand and writing all kinds of mean think pieces and wherever the case may be. And it's like, I don't know what you guys expected. Like, let the kids just enjoy things.
The only reviews that matter are the 7 to 10-year-olds.
Right. If it's a 2-hour-long HBO ad or whatever the case may be, so be it. Whatever, as long as the kids are having a good time, that's all that matters. So, yeah, I'm not really paying attention to the critics in that regard. So, hopefully, if you do see it, we go and enjoy it, unlike the others who seem otherwise right now. So, definitely fun things ahead in that regard. But we talk about critics. There was a major critic story in this last week with sports in regards to Stephen A. Smith, who was very critical of Shohei Ohtani, as well as we focus on basketball right now, Team Nigeria, and was just very disrespectful to that squad.
Stephen A. was having a field day that morning. I don't know what
it was rough for him. And he was very disrespectful to the Team Nigeria after they beat our Team USA squad in Olympic exhibition. Definitely want our side want to salute them. Mie Oni, friend of the show, who we had on here, was part of that squad and had some nice buckets there, as well as others, Gabe Vincent and others who were mentioned. Pressure Tour. There's a few NBA guys that were on that roster that put up a great great
Precious
performance.
stuffed KD in that game. That was
nice. Talked about you're not that guy. I'm trying to do stuff afterwards. It was funny to see. But yeah, Stephen A. had some very critical words, which he had to eventually backtrack. It was interesting too because first he tried to double down. He put up a video first trying to explain this is what I said and this is what I meant, whatever.
Well, about the Otani one. About the
Otani one first. He didn't really mention the Nigerian team part.
Right.
But then once he got back on air, he mentioned them as well because that fallout was heavy.
Yeah,
he was getting everywhere with people mad at him.
The major reaction was to the Otani one at the top of the morning, but then people were like, "Wait, he said this about Team Nigeria just like hours later."
The thing was, he posted both clips. They were on his page, so you go on his page, and he has one post slandering Otani, the other post slandering Nigerian team. It's like you're asking for this, I guess, and you don't realize what you're doing. This is not a good look, and we know that you hear about it. So we had a good discussion about ESPN and how they care more about the antics over the analysis these days. I think that was a great example of that about Stephen A., who was someone who has kind of gone all in on the antics as of late. And if he had put more analysis into situations, we've seen that Otani can be a star regardless, even though he does speak English, he doesn't speak it publicly. He would have seen that, or he would have seen the talent that the Nigerian team had and wouldn't have disrespected them in the way that they did. So, that it's his fault as well as just as we mentioned, just the whole focus of the large media networks these days as well. We see it across the board with Fox Sports and going back to the finals, how Skip Bayless kind of doing LeBron and Giannis and how he's slandering Giannis while it's blocked and all that other kind of stuff. Like all these top media networks are built off of slandering these stars. And
I mean, we see the jig when we see
we see the jig. The problem is that's what they want. They just want us to see. They just want to be seen. They want to be heard, regardless of if they're saying the right thing or the wrong thing. They just want that acknowledgement. And even if what you're saying may be hateful towards them, and if you're critiquing them in response, like we all did, if they're getting the clicks either way, that's what their goal is accomplished. So it was sad to see in a way, but also the reality is it's kind of what they wanted. So as we further that conversation, how you feel, especially now seeing a great example of it with the Stephen situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Otani discussion he was having on First Take, I think it was just a very narrow-minded, surface level take to say he can't speak English, so they're not going to be able to market him. I was it came off like a MAGA take. I don't think he meant it to be like that, but just the narrow-minded thinking to say that an international player can't be the face, it's just blatantly wrong.
Yeah, he was saying America won't fully embrace the star. No, that America, whoever your MAGA America is that you trying to refer to, they might not, but the rest of us see the talent and really and acknowledge the greatness that's on that field. We just talked about him being better than Babe Ruth is now, as many others are mentioning as well. So people see the talent and the talking points or whatever that he's trying to bring up aren't as important as he made them seem.
Yeah, and fans of the sport, and I mean even casual fans. I mean, because you know about Otani, you asked me about him on previous episodes. Is he really that deal? The way he's being talked about. Even casual fans are starting to hear about him who don't even watch baseball really. So it's clear that his talent is seeping through the fabric of the sports world and the internet, even if people aren't watching him play. And he's being highlighted. It's really just been an issue with how the MLB markets their stars, not really who the star is. I mean, because Mike Trout, as many have pointed to, Mike Trout has been the best player in baseball for years, and he still has not been a international star really, or the face of the league really. I think he could walk down many streets and not be recognized, even in LA probably too.
And that actually was going to be a question I asked in response, why should the MLB want to have more of a push in that regard if they can still get their $500 million contracts and all of that, while also still maintaining a form of anonymity? Should be kind of players like that in a way? Hey, I could be the biggest star in this sport, but still have some privacy in a way. Why should the MLB want to market their players more if they're already getting big checks?
I think because the marketing you're doing is more so to the younger generations. And I feel like the younger generation is, at least in large part, like it's more commercialized, our society now. So like as it goes along with like bringing more fun into the game and like the bat flips and getting rid of like the unwritten rules and stuff, like that's not playing to the older generation that like viewed it as America's pastime and all that. Like, that's the older white men who enjoyed baseball. I think the younger generation is into like the more flashy stuff and the more personalities and the quotables and stuff that you see from other athletes from different sports.
I guess
I'm trying to bring in the younger generation to also view the game, because I think a large majority of their viewership is older and white for the most part. So
again, I hear that, but just trying to look from the MLB's perspective, like the game's not going to stop. Guys are going to keep playing baseball, whether they're attracted based on the marketing or not. There's still going to be players that pop up every year, regardless. Yeah. So they're still going to be able to find players and new young players, whatever. If guys are still showing up and they're still getting paid the big bucks, like why should they care to have it be the number one sport in the world if they could stay low on the list but still put up the numbers that they do?
I think you're always like in any business, you're always like seeking to grow, and I think they're trying to grow the game. I mean, I had a family friend ask me like why I thought there wasn't like more black athletes like in the MLB, and I think like they're trying to grow the game in that facet as well too. And I think having more of a like mass market appeal would be beneficial to that growth of the game as well. And I think the viewership, because like you said, like they're still gonna have players and they're still gonna make money, but I think just getting that next wave of a generation to be as excited about baseball as like the older generations have been, because it's almost like, I mean, not for us, like, I mean, obviously like I'm a baseball fan, but I'd say for a majority of people like us, like they're more into basketball and football.
Right.
So I think seeking to grow the audience, because a good portion of it is going to die out eventually too. So
I just had a random thought. While it's not on the same level, I saw a Chris Middleton interview for the first time after Game 4 of the finals. That's the first time I heard him talk as I could think of. Like I hadn't heard
Chris Middleton.
I can't remember seeing many Chris Middleton interviews. Admittedly, I think he may have had a couple sitting next to Drew Holiday, where Drew Holiday talked a little bit. But just saying, like, back to our original point about Stephen A. and the Shohei situation, like, even on the NBA side, there are times when we see guys and what they're doing, their interviews are not what attracts us to them. It's what they're doing on the court. And Chris Middleton put up 40, or back to baseball, Shohei pitching and hitting home runs and being the home run derby and all of that. That's what draws us to him. And the talking points are just add-ons in a way. So, I definitely hear you in all of that. And we'll see how MLB continues to put.
I slightly disagree with you, too, because, I mean, baseball has existed, but you haven't been a fan of baseball for what they do on the field as long as it's existed. Like, you're kind of getting into it now a little bit.
Sure. I grew up in a basketball, football, track, all that kind of sports kind of house. So when you get kind of engulfed in that culture, it's hard to follow along with the other things. So just with being so enamored with basketball and then on every level, high school, NBA, whatever, it's like you only watch so much at a time. So yes, I was watching all that stuff, but I always at least kept somewhat of an eye on baseball. I wasn't no expert or anything like that, but because I own enough and tuning on occasion. So sure, I'm becoming more of a fan now. But I always keep the eye on it. So and either way, it wasn't, as I paid attention to it, I never cared like, oh, what is Derek Jeter going to say today? It was I want to see him on the diamond. So,
but I'd say like some of the things that really didn't even have to do with baseball, like some of the unwritten rule stuff, like Tim Anderson throwing his bat and then getting backlash, that kind of thing drew your eyes to it more. So I think it's not always like just what's going on in between the lines. I think the talent can speak for itself, like for a guy like Ohtani who does it all. But I think part of it too, part of the reach of the sport is like the personalities that are in it as well too. I think
Got you.
that's why like the NBA does so well as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the MLB could do a better job of that. And definitely Stephen A. clearly like missed the mark in his take there.
Right.
Ohtani is the face of the league now. Right? I mean, him and Trout are right there as best players in the league on the same team. But I think someone else made a point too. Like if he was on a different team, he might be even bigger as well too. Like it has nothing to do with him speaking English or not. It's just how he's presented to the public. But I think that was that on that. And then just in regards to the Nigeria team, I think like based off his comments, it didn't even sound like Stephen A. had watched the game. Like
honestly.
Disrespected them as far as like not pronouncing their names, like which was kind of uncalled for too. Like you expect better from him as a professional,
as a man who is so vocal about his support of Black athletes and all of that. Like
who's been a journalist for like 30 plus years, probably too.
You would think he would know not to poke that bear, but he decided to in that regard. And it was just a nasty clip. And I'm glad he apologized for it. So, definitely discussing that way, but glad we can move forward. And now we go back on the court just with all the Olympics things going on. Team USA is still trying to figure things out. They lost the game after losing to the Nigerian team as well, but then bounced back and beat, I believe it was Australia by 20 the other night.
They lost to Australia.
Oh, they lost to Australia. They beat Argentina by 20. Yeah, sorry, I got that guy mixed up. But
they lost two straight before they won.
Yeah. I was saying they lost two straight. I just mixed up the names. So they lost the two straight and then got a good win. But now COVID, as it is doing in LA right now, is also sweeping through the Team USA. Also, they're dealing with COVID things as a couple of guys, Jeremy Grant and Brady Beal, both. I don't know if they tested positive but they're dealing with.
Something they're in protocols.
Yeah, they're in protocols right now and trying to figure things out. So maybe that opens up a door for some new players to pop in. That there were complaints. They may have already announced it because I saw subtweets from John Morant and Trae Young about the situation. So maybe they contacted them and they said no because they didn't want to be the second option or whatever. I guess Team USA is trying to figure things out. What do you think about our squad this year as they go through their ups and downs?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it's a very offensively talented team. Some of the selections kind of raised an eyebrow for me. Like, I think Jeremy Grant's a really solid player, but I don't think he should have been on the team. For me personally, I feel like you should at least have been an all-star at some point, maybe, like, to make the team. It's different when we're playing, like, the world championships or whatever. Like the Olympics is like once every 4 years kind of thing. And we're seeking to win gold too. We're seeking to send the best of the best for the most part, who's willing to participate. So I feel like you should be able to grab from a group of all-stars. I mean, because you have 25 all-stars or whatever a year.
Yep.
So I thought Jeremy Grant never should have been on it. Kevin Love should have been far from it. Like shouldn't have even sniffed this team. I don't. He doesn't. I watched the first 2 games. He doesn't even like look in basketball shape right now.
It seemed like he has a lot of connection in the league, and this is kind of a selling point for him as he's turning things around. And I mean, he was once a great player in his own right, but right now he's working through a lot. So I don't want to completely hate on him. I've seen a lot of people just completely just slander him at all. But he doesn't seem to fit right now. So we'll see how Team USA adjusts going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hate because you didn't even perform in the regular season for your team at all, really.
Right.
Like he played like 25 of the 72 games. Like, he should have sat this one out. And then Draymond too. Like, he's a good player. As we've talked about, he's like a ceiling raiser, not a floor raiser.
Right.
So in this element, you would expect him to be a major impact on this team with having all-stars all around him. But I feel like there are other guys who could be deserving as well too. So, I mean, I understand Ja and Trae being a little bit upset, but they're still young too. Like they still have a lot of time to be on the team, and they're just now kind of coming into their own as NBA stars. Neither of them have been All-Star, or was Trey an All-Star, like a reserve?
One time he was.
I think, yeah.
Oh, no, he got snubbed, and people were mad about that. He wasn't.
He didn't get subbed in at any point, though, for anybody?
I'm blanking, and hopefully we don't get NBA traders and slander us for that, but I don't believe
if he did. It was only one time, but he might not have been.
Right.
But, yeah, I think they still have time.
Plenty of time.
Next Olympics, they probably would both be on there. But yeah, the issue seems to be defensively. Like, this team has not committed to playing defense beyond like 6 seconds of the shot clock. Like, they were getting blown by in that Nigeria game. Guys were blown by and getting to the rim like easily. Drew Holiday fixes a little bit of that once he gets finished with the finals. He's supposed to join the team. Middleton should help with that as well too. But yeah, they got to commit to defense a little bit more because Damian Lillard has been barbecue chicken on that end.
I will say though, as we have discussed with the NBA in general, with the whole scheduling of the last few years, could Drew and Chris actually be not a detriment, but could they not actually be the help that we think they are because of the fast turnaround from the finals and things? Because it's been a long season already, and then to go straight from that and the finals intensity into now the Olympics and all of that, could they maybe have some major fatigue there that does not allow them to play as great as we would like them to?
They might have some fatigue, but I think if you allow like Drew to just simply focus on defense and not have to really score at all because you have the other All-Stars next to him, I think that should be all right. I'm not expecting Middleton to need to put up 40 like on the Team USA when you got KD and Levine and Tatum and all of them. So yeah, I think that should be fine. And they're going to get Booker too as well. I think that should be fine. Getting them. There probably will be some fatigue, but we've seen players do it in the past as well too. Granted, the elite ones between like LeBron and Kobe and them, but we've seen guys come off finals runs and then go to the Olympics too. So I think they should be all right in that capacity. But I think, obviously they struggled adjusting to FIBA rules, which we'll talk about in a second as well too. But the defense really has been the main issue because they can score better than anyone else. Like, they shouldn't have a problem offensively, but the defense is where they need to lock in. People have pointed to Pop maybe not being the guy to coach them in the future as well too. Like, maybe he's on his last leg as like that best coach in the league.
I've been hearing that.
And I mean, that might be fair too. I think they have other guys on staff who probably are poised to take that over between Spoelstra, or I think they have like Jay Wright on the staff as well too, and a couple other good head coaches, Steve Kerr maybe, a couple others who maybe will take over in the future. Because Pop seems about done with this. He kind of got into it with the reporter. But yeah, I think that should be all right. I'm jokingly said they might not medal this year, but they have way too much talent not to. Like, I think they should have things fixed.
I'm sure they'll figure it out
for the actual Olympic play. Like, these have just been exhibitions, but it raises an eyebrow. Yeah,
and to that sugar, what I wanted to bring up, just there's been talks just about them adjusting to the FIBA rules and things that we mentioned early on. What do you think about the FIBA rules compared to the NBA? Our guy, your guy, Jared Dudley, said the NBA should adopt at least some of the FIBA rules. Just seeing how they aren't as quick with the whistle and let guys play a little bit more physical. And the foul baiting as our guys like to do. FIBA refs don't seem to play about that, and they'll just let you fall to the ground and sit there and be mad and let the play go on rather than giving you the call. So, what do you think about the possible institution of some of the FIBA rules to the NBA?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if they allowed maybe like, I wouldn't say like bring back like the full hand checking rules, but just allowing for a little bit more physicality in the NBA, I think would be good. Definitely like getting rid of the flopping and the foul baiting. They're already making changes to the NBA rules in terms of the foul baiting, as far as the move that like Trae Young kind of does or Harden does, where they like back into the defender. Chris Paul has done it a little bit in these finals as well too. I know they're outlawing that one. So they're seeking to make some subtle changes to how the game is officiated, but I think it would be a better product on the floor if they do move away from how softly the whistle can be in the NBA at times. I think it can kind of mess up the flow of games and the authenticity, I guess, of games too, when guys are like hunting for the foul, looking for the contact rather than actually trying to score the ball. Like they're seeking to get the whistle.
Right.
So yeah, I would like to see them adopt some of the FIBA rules, at least as it goes for physicality and flopping and drawing fouls. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. I like seeing how guys try to flop and all that and don't get their way. So I like to see more of that in NBA, especially as we talked about the finals, as we just saw a lot of flopping things were going on there that we wished weren't getting the reaction that they did.
Getting rewarded,
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to how that changed. But we talked a lot about the men's side just now. The women team, USA women, played against the team WNBA for their All-Star game. And the All-Star game was very fun to watch. I believe Team WNBA actually beat Team USA in that. So Team USA for men and women are kind of struggling right now. But either way, it was a fun event. I really enjoyed the three-point contest at halftime. I think didn't the men's All-Star game go that way as well? Didn't they put some of their events in the middle of? Yeah, so I like how that played out. So it made for a fun night as I watched all that take place. Alec quickly beat out Jonquel Jones in the final there. Jonquel put up 27 in the first round. We were calling her Steph after that. Alec quickly said not so fast and bounced back and put up 27 of her own, and then came back and beat Jonquel in the final as well. So definitely was fun to watch. She got a burner on her. Yeah, she definitely got a burner on her. People were calling her best shooter in the world and all kinds of things. And I ain't gonna dispute after what I just saw. So definitely salute to her. But definitely great thing to see from WNBA side. I'm glad that's continuing to get more publicity and all that. That's been to our point about marketing and all that kind of stuff. They've been someone who have been desiring more of that just because of men's ignorance and all that kind of shit. They have lacked in a way, but they're finally trying to get recognition they deserve. Excuse me. I'm loving what I'm seeing. And somewhere in that same regard, we saw during the ESPYs the other day, which I completely forgot was even happening. I
did too, yeah.
We wanted to. But Paige Buchers, who is a rising star in college basketball at UConn right now, won. I forgot exactly what award it was.
It was like Women's College Athlete of the Year.
Women's College Athlete, yes. And she had a great speech, which she wanted talking just about magnifying black female athletes, especially in WNBA, as she has seen how the white counterparts get a lot more shine, though the black athletes are doing just as well, if not better, however you want to describe it. And they deserve the same recognition that people like her are getting. So I salute to her for pointing that out. And as we continue to talk about the media, there's a lot of things going on there, and the discrepancy in white versus black athletes is another thing that continues to be an issue. And I'm glad that white athletes are now stepping up to say, "Hey, yes, we see y'all getting the spotlight, but our teammates and others deserve the shine as well." So salute to her for that. Just continue to talk just about women dominating their thing. We saw in the spelling bee, which was earlier that week as well. It might have been the same day. No, earlier that week as well. But Zaila Avant Garde had won the spelling bee, and that is a moment to celebrate just in itself. But then highlights came out. She had a whole highlight tape of basketball. I was like, wait, didn't she spell? Like, I was confused. Like, who am I watching? They're like, nah, she doesn't at all. She spells, she hoops, she wants to work for NASA and all kinds of stuff. It was amazing to see her story all become national news. So salute to her for her victory. And I'm excited to see whichever route she chooses. She had an interview where she talked about she could see herself going like 4 ways. She could see herself being an NBA head coach, an WNBA player, a NASA engineer. It was just all just amazing feats that she is aiming for. And whichever way she decides to go, I'm rooting for in all of that. So salute to her for her success and much more to come. And definitely want to applaud her. You want to point out anything as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we said that she was the first African American winner
of course. To the spelling bee. There's so much other stuff you forget. We start with that, and she was the first Black American to win the spelling bee, which was amazing. We've been watching for a minute. and salute. I'm glad we finally got one. So salute to her for doing that.
It's funny that she said like she basically sees it as like a side thing, like basketball is the main thing. Like I just go on the side, but I just won that real quick.
She's young still. I don't think she realized that a lot of people might have been hurt by that. There's the other side, people that lost. Like, hey, yo, we put our whole lives in this. This is a side gig. Like, you can't be saying that. So,
Black excellence at its true finest, right there.
Exactly. I mean, either way, she don't care. I applaud the confidence. So, yeah, love to see that from her. Love to see also Candace Parker on the cover of NBA 2K 22. She's got a cover. They might have got me again, man. I was anti-2K for a second. They were getting on my nerves, but Candace Parker on the cover.
You know it's basically going to be the same game, just with some more sweat beads on.
I'm sure. But they got me, excuse me, with Candace on the cover. Big Candace Parker fan. Salute to her. And she's on there. There actually was some backlash just about all the 2K covers. Actually, for some reason, people were mad that she was on the cover. People were mad that Luke was on the cover. They felt like they were maybe younger, more deserving, or on the NBA side, there were vets that may deserve.
You'll always find someone to criticize. I think the majority of people are fine with it.
Listen, man, shut up, please. It's never that serious.
I saw a black woman talking about Luka being on the cover as a white guy, and I was like, all the other covers have been black dudes before. Like,
everybody.
It's not a race thing. Luka is nice.
It's just a thing going on with media and online in general, where people are just bored and need something to talk about, and so they get mad just about whatever.
People are miserable, bro.
People are miserable and bored. There's COVID things going on, and they just need something to get them riled up in some kind of way. And this is the current topic right now. In that same kind of way. I'll just talk about it real quick now. I saw talk just on NFL wise, just in regards to Shannon Sharp mad that Lamar Jackson was playing football on the blacktop with some kids the other day. It's like, bro, like he's a kid himself, wishing that I don't know if he said it himself, but just talks of him wanting to be a face in the community, and he's always been pictured there, whether it's on a kind of a celebrity status way when he's hanging out with Kodak sometimes, or if he's just riding through Baltimore or wherever, as he likes to post on his IG. Like, he likes to be in the city and amongst the people. And if he wants to run around with some kids for a little while, yes, I know he's the billion-dollar baby, whatever you want to call him, the future face of the franchise, whatever. Yes, I know that he could get hurt, but we gotta let kids be kids. Let guys just be humans first too. I know there's the business side where you want to say, oh, well, technically, if you want to hurt yourself and cost yourself some money, like the money's not the most important thing in this situation. He's with his people and he's enjoying that moment for what it was. Let people enjoy things. Let people enjoy the covers, whatever. And the complaining is just annoying right now. So it's been interesting to see.
I mean, you'd hate to have like a fluke injury or something with a guy doing that kind of thing. But
I totally get that. As a former athlete, they told us about the no skateboard and all kinds of stuff, and how to protect, make sure you don't do whatever, so you don't put nothing while doing. You
want to get that like the football related injury.
Exactly. So we've seen the stories before and been told about them or whatever. But also, we understand these guys are not just athletes. That's been a big movement we've seen recently. And if he wants to be out and about with his people, let him be out and about with his people. He knows what situation he's putting himself into, and he'll deal with the consequences if they arise. But if not, as they didn't, it's just another great moment with him, and the kids have a great story to tell. Hey, I was out playing football with Lamar Jackson and kind of pass him or whatever. Like, it's great moments for people. So let people enjoy things. And I understand we want to focus on the field, but there's a lot more life going on beyond that. So definitely was something I wanted to address real quick. But that was. We'll get back to this. We'll play more NFL things to address that I want to discuss. We've been talking a whole lot of basketball, though, so we'll stay there just for a little while longer as we talk about other things outside LA and trade rumors and things. The Ben Simmons things is now confirmed, not of an official trade, but just that he's on the market, and the Sixers will be looking around 4 teams. Again, we talked about the Timberwolves being top of the list, the Kings being top of the list potentially. could go to a few spots. But I just hope that Ben gets right and can. I want to say quiet the naysayers because I'm not really a fan of his like that. But I just do hope he has a good turnaround wherever he may land. So see room for him in that regard. He is the top of the list in regards to trade rumors and seeing his name being floated around alongside Dame, of course, and we see what goes on in Portland. But on a somewhat of a lesser note, but definitely something to note, we talked and for a moment, we were big fans of Sexland out in Cleveland, Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. And Darius Garland kind of stole the show, it seems, as Cleveland wants to roll with him as their guard. And now there's a lot of rumblings of Colin Sexton being on the move. So Colin Sexton may not be getting paid in Cleveland. I think it's a contract year for him, and Cleveland does not want to renew that contract potentially, and may seem to sign and trade or move him elsewhere. What do you think of the split of Sexland?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Garland stole the show. I think Garland's contract probably isn't up, right? Sexton's is the one that's going to be up.
That's true.
And they don't want to pay him. Like,
right.
I like Sexton as a player. I think he's a really solid young guy. That game where he went off on the Nets was amazing too.
Both games.
Both games, right? Yeah, forgot about that. But I personally, if I'm the organization, I don't want to max him out either. Like, I don't think he's max money worthy.
Mm-hmm. And
he might be asking for that, and another organization might be willing to pay him that. That has that kind of money available. So. I understand Cleveland letting him go, like in that variety. Whether is he still on contract or is he a free agent?
I think his rookie contract is expiring. That's what it is. So he's up for
this is probably like his last year.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, he's probably going to be traded. I would think.
People are talking about
and Isaac Okoro, and I feel like there's another young guard they have.
No one official, but they have a high draft pick that they could use on somebody as well. So we'll see how they use that. But there's been talks about New York and Miami as the two big things. Another Cleveland guy potentially going to Miami, but we'll see how that plays out.
It's not the same.
not the same, but just a joke. Just trying to throw it in there. But either way, hoping for the best for Colin and hope he can get to a place where he's better received. We talked kind of a little bit during the KPJ situation, just about that locker room, trying to figure things out. Still a very young locker room with a lot of roster turnaround. There were a lot of trades and things going on. So got to figuring things out. And Colin kind of got in a mix of that as well. So hopefully he can find himself in a better role where he can continue to thrive. So we'll see how it all plays out. But room for him and excited to see what comes in Cleveland as well. So fun things there. And then we mentioned Alonzo in New Orleans. People, I'm so confused on the situation. Like, they were in on Lonzo.
I think Rick Paul is playing games in the media, bro.
There's definitely media games going on, but it's just funny seeing it. Like, he's in, and then, oh, no, we should trade him. And then, oh, no, he actually is good. And then, oh, no, he's traded again. And then, oh, no, he's in. And then now we're here where it's like, oh, he's for sure getting traded. I'm like, what's the deal? So there's media games being played, of course. I would love to see him stay, as they just the Pelicans also just hired Willie Green, from the Suns assistant, who's a heralded assistant coach, now getting a head coaching opportunity that I'm definitely excited to see how it plays out. Zion and BI have both been advocates for Lonzo. So I think when you have your two guys, your two cornerstones advocating for him, you lock him in. But with the team trying to really take the next step, we'll see if they believe he's the guy that'll help them do that. So you're more the Pelicans fan than I am. What do you think they should do with Lonzo?
The Pelicans should keep him, but as you talked about, just the rumors that swirl in the media, I'm not sure that they're going to be willing to give him because I think he's going to be a restricted free agent. So
right.
They'll have the opportunity to match if another team offers him. Gives him an offer sheet, but it's sounding like they're not going to match it if it's over like a certain price point. So I'm not sure that he comes back. I mean, people have talked about potentially maybe the Bulls, like wanting him to maybe sign with the Bulls, or I think the Knicks have been discussed as well too. The Lakers have been discussed, but that's in more of like a trade scenario.
And that's been a lot more fan hype than I've seen media. There've been media sources saying Chicago and other places, and fans are like, "Oh, please, Lakers, get Lonzo." So
right.
More of a pipe dream for us potentially.
Right, but yeah, I mean, as a Lonzo fan, like I think I'd want to see him in New Orleans, but I think he would thrive in those other places. I think he'd be great fit for the Lakers. I think he would be a helpful addition for the Bulls, like next to Levine and Vucevic, who they acquired during the season as well too. The Knicks, I don't know about that fit. I think the Knicks need like a vet that can like score 20, 25 points a game for them next to Randall. They need someone to make Randall the Robin to their Batman.
Real quick though, since you brought him up, I will say I can't fully remember how the D'Lo situation played out. I can't remember hearing rumblings of trades prior to it, but I haven't heard really anything from Julius. So my comparisons about D'Lo or Julius being to the Knicks, what D'Lo was to the Nets, seem to be off. So I'll tip my cap to you for trying to tell me.
We don't know. I was wrong. I guess something still could happen.
We don't fully know. It still might happen, but for now, it seems like Julius is stamped in New York for the moment. So salute to him for his great season and him finding a home there. Hopefully, again, free agency in the start of J, and we'll see what moves around. So unless some big star pops up that demands a trade in that way, he should be solidified there. So salute to him for being a big part of that turnaround there and finding a home, as I said. So I was wrong on that one. Again, we admit we're wrong on this show. I'll hold that L. But I'm glad that he is now solidified in that spot. So if they can find a point guard or somebody, a nice Robin to his Batman, or however you want to describe it, I think that'd be helpful for New York to get over the hump. So we'll see if Lonzo's that guy.
Yep. And I think that was pretty much. You have Donovan Mitchell on here. Why do you have?
Again, Twitter, social media stuff. There were potentially some frustrated Donovan Mitchell tweets and things, and we've heard about Donovan Mitchell being frustrated in Utah, rumblings of that, especially after in the midst of the when COVID stuff first kind of went down with him and Rudy Gobert and them bumping heads potentially. I guess that's resurfacing, and I don't think anything's gonna come of it right now. Utah's gonna hold on to their cards if they can, but it'd be interesting to see if Donovan kind of eventually goes the Dame route and says, okay, I've ran from the grind long enough. Let me go and see if I can win somewhere else instead.
Yeah.
So that was it. That's all I really got on the NBA front, which was more than enough. We're at past an hour now. Apologies for for doing all that. But hopefully you've been enjoying the conversation, and like we said, are adding to it online, all of our stuff. Now as we go to other things, something that I really wanted to talk about in regard is what's going on in the NFL right now, and it's a lot of things off the field. Honestly, Richard Sherman had a situation this last week where he had I believe it was a mental health kind of crisis
episode kind of thing.
And I didn't read into the full details. I did see a phone call that I believe his wife tried to make in the midst of his episode, and the reaction from the responder to them was not something that I enjoyed. And maybe I couldn't watch the whole video.
The dispatcher was terrible.
Yeah, I was really annoyed by that. And I won't talk in full about Richard Sherman's situation right now because things are still going on and news is breaking as we speak potentially. But my thoughts are more so towards the reaction to what glimpses we saw into the situation. There are a lot of folks that still have a large misunderstanding of mental health, especially in athletes, especially in black men, black athletes, however you want to put that diagram together across the board. Mental health is something that we're still have a long way to go in understanding and properly responding to, as you saw directly from that responder, and seeing just a lot of the jokes online about Richard Sherman. I'm not even gonna say the jokes, but just seeing the joking online in response to his situation really bothered me. Seeing, at least in part, reports that it was a mental health episode. Like that is something that you could be on the grandest stage, or you could be another man on the street and have these episodes, and for people to not be probably receptive of it is very frustrating. Just on the sports side, just again, yeah, guys, it's just difficult, man. It's just difficult. As someone who is now a former athlete, I talked about I played a while ago and left for the various reasons that I did. Yeah, just dealing with the mental things during that time, and seeing others deal with it. Depression and things is very real in athletes, and hearing that Richard Sherman was potentially threatening to kill himself and all of that is not uncommon for folks that deal with these things, and
especially former NFL players.
We don't have to go the CTE route, because when we do, there's been a lot of jokes recently about that, and I'm not going to go there. But I guess with that, just saying how it all is a joke to a lot of folks still, like they don't fully understand and want to continue to mock it, is very frustrating. And we have to be more receptive to folks, understand that the spotlight is while we want to praise athletes and things, there are athletes that struggle with that. And while the spotlight may not be the reason, just saying when people are under that spotlight, does not mean they're perfect, and they still have things that they're battling on their own. And we got a glimpse into that with Sherman this last week. I hope for the best for him. And yeah, I just hope we continue to raise more awareness for mental health and get better understanding of it, especially in the sports world, as we are connected to. So yeah, I was really bothered by the reaction to it and the jokes that I saw online. And I hope that we can better handle these things going forward. Kind of that same way, earlier we talked about Kevin Love. I didn't want to poke too hard at Kevin Love, as someone who I know has kind of been open with his struggles as well. And It was just like, while I don't want, that's kind of an out in a way. At the same time, just seeing the outpour of jokes to him, I was like, I'm not going to add to this, because he has someone that's been vocal just about how things can affect him, and that should be how we treat all players. But of course, when you know there is a certain someone that deals with things a certain way, I didn't want to pile on. So yeah, we just got to treat our athletes better, kind of to our media things we discuss as well, and yeah, just embrace them more and be quicker to embrace than to hate, as it seems that a lot of folks are doing these days.
Yeah. Yeah, in regards to the last point you said about Kevin Love, because it's very well documented by him himself, speaking out on social, mental health issues and the issues that he dealt with himself. I didn't feel like people were like joking on it. I feel like people were like, why was he selected? Like, this was kind of like a privileged selection.
No, I understand what the complaints were about. I'm just saying it seemed like it was a whole lot. And I'm like, the guy is in the spot. Whether we want him to be there or not, he's there. Yeah. Rather than continue to say why he shouldn't be there, let's just embrace him being there and see what we could do to make things work with him being in the spot that he is. So I guess that's more of my take on it.
Yeah, and you can leave Kevin Love, because Richard Sherman, I think, I think you kind of have to expect, not to say that like it's easy to just dismiss it or ignore it, but like you kind of have to expect like the internet, especially like Twitter, to be unserious about things that are very like serious as well too. Sure. So like you kind of have to expect the jokes, and some stuff like you joke through just to like cope with as well too. This isn't really that type of situation, but sometimes it like can bring levity to kind of bring humor into the situation when things are super serious. Right. But in this situation, I feel like it's tough. It was tough to hear, like when I first saw like the headline, because one, I felt like Richard Sherman is someone of like pretty high character in the league. So it didn't like sound right to see like the domestic violence or whatever headline. And that's more information has come out about that, to where like he didn't like actually assault anyone in the dispute or anything. It's just like how that disturbance is labeled.
Right.
It was like a family issue though, so it's kind of hard to like break it down. And as you said, he has spoken in the past, at least to his family members, that he had suicidal thoughts and issues of depression or things of that nature, dealing with his own mental health struggles. And that was something that was private that's now made public. So hopefully this incident being made public isn't even more of a stressor on like him specifically, but like the family as well too, who is I would think seeking to help him get through his struggles.
Right.
It's tough because when you're a high profile athlete, like these things are going to be made more public. Like if something like this happened to me or you, like they wouldn't have the 911 call on Twitter.
Right.
So we're kind of shielded from that because we're not public figures. That's kind of the nature of the beast. But I hope that he can get like the help that he needs. Really talented player, advocate, great in his community as well too. So like I hope that he can get the help that he needs and continue to play if he wants to, but also take care of himself. Because I know you said you didn't want to dive too into CTE, but it's clearly been an issue for NFL players.
I didn't want to dive into it in the sense of I saw a lot, again, I guess the online part, just the joking about how, this is CTE, whatever. I didn't want to go that route. But on a realistic side, we still are just trying to get a full understanding of that, and that could have came into play. We don't know, whatever, but I see where you're trying to take it.
Yeah, it seemed like this was more of like a family issue, if anything, and not necessarily like a mental health breakdown. But yeah, we now know that he like struggles with mental health issues. So hopefully he can get the help that he needs and get back to feeling like himself.
And I guess to that point, there are a lot more folks that deal with that than they lead on. Again, the what you see on camera, people will paint the perfect picture online, make them seem like everything is nice and dandy or whatever, but behind closed doors, they're really battling a whole lot of demons and things. So, it's something that we got to be more aware of and cautious about. And I hope that he's all right. And there's definitely a bigger discussion to be had that I want to further deep dive later on. We've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes now this episode, but I want to have a further discussion on this next episode as well. Just about anxiety in sports, anxiety between us being black men. Definitely want to discuss that. So there definitely is a larger thing. There are a lot of things to discuss there that we will return to. But for now, hope for the best for Richard. And I guess in a way, thanks for opening the discussion, and we will continue to add to it. I shouldn't say thanks because we obviously know what comes from it, but I'm just glad. Sadly, I know it's coming from a sad moment, but I'm just glad we're having this conversation and can continue to have it going forward. So that is it for in his regard. And other things, there was another situation with Dwayne Haskins, who is someone we've been rooting for and hoping things get right with him. He had his own dispute kind of go down this last week as news continues to break between him and his wife. We won't talk a whole lot about that, but as we talked about domestic disputes and things can go both ways. And when we saw a woman potentially put hands on a man in this spot, so just gotta just be protective of everybody. So hope things work out for him as well. And that's it for off the field things in that regard in NFL. More towards the field, no real Rodgers news. We talked about Tom Brady and the news of him being Superman, playing through the MCL tear. What can't this guy do? He's just Jesus at this point. Whatever.
Drew Brees had a list of like 12 injuries he was dealing with last year, like 12 broken ribs or whatever, like fractured fingers and all this kind of thing. So guys are playing with injuries. Like
low key, if I was Drew, I'd be mad. Like this man just keeps on showing me up. I play through broken ribs. I fight through it and come back to finish the season. And all of a sudden Brady beats me. Not only does he beat me, he adds to it and said, "Oh yeah, I had an MCL tear the whole time too." Like, can't you just win and leave me alone? Like, I'd be so annoyed if I was Drew. But Crazy to hear about that story. And again, it's just amazing that at 43 or wherever he is now, that he did that. Just adding that age factor in as well. You talked about Father Time being undefeated. I would say Tom Brady has won that battle in his own way with how long he needed to go. Sure, if he goes to 50 and then retires, then yes, so he got old and retired. That's natural. But for him to play till 43 at this high of a level through injury and all deserves some credit. I feel sick saying it as the anti-Brady guy my whole life, but you gotta give credit where it's due. We've been on that. We were not fully anti. We weren't the biggest LeBron fans for a while, and we've turned on LeBron and embraced him more. And now I guess we're embracing Brady a little bit, and just giving credit where it's due. I want to say embracing, not putting on the Brady jersey, but we give credit where it's due, and he deserves praise for the heroics that he displayed this last season. So
best believe if we get another Brady versus Mahomes Super Bowl, I'm doubling down on Mahomes.
Oh, I'm sure he has an O-line. He has an O-line now, so I'll join you on that for sure. But yeah, crazy things there. But again, we talk about our LA teams. The Rams are trying to be in that spot instead. They want to follow in Brady's footsteps in the way he won the Super Bowl at home in Tampa Bay last year. The Rams want to win at home in LA in their new SoFi stadium this year. As Super Bowl will be held. So hopefully Matt Stafford, who is the QB here, can lead us there. There's been a lot of hype now building up about him. We talked about him being ready to blow Lamar Jackson and others in recent rankings from folks and things, which might be crazy, but it's just saying that people see the talent that he is. And regardless of if he's ranked proper or not, he's getting a lot of love, and there's high hopes for this Rams squad with him at the head of it. So we'll see how that plays out. We've talked about Herbert before. I think Mahomes poked at him. We're not talking about that already. Mahomes was at a golf event, and somebody mentioned, "Oh, watch out for Herbert this year." He said, "I'll believe it when I see it," whatever. So, yeah, people see Herbert. See that Herbert's on the way. I'm glad that Mahomes was like, "You got to prove it first," and all that too. So, definitely fun battles ahead with them just being in the same division there. So, yeah, good things in the NFL. I guess lastly, I'll throw this in there. As much as I enjoy them, I also get annoyed in regards to the NFL and to our media point, just with the overdoing of lists. Like the NFL, like everything is a list. Like, yes, I understand we want to rank guys and see how they play out, but we got to let the game talk for itself. Similar to what you said about baseball and how the game speaks for itself in its own way. Let the NFL. I know that there's the new wave of NFL experts, both in media and online, claiming to be, and there's all these desire for how important numbers are and all of that. And while they are important, absolutely, just how locked in, I guess, people are, and how much emphasis is being put on numbers and things in football is getting kind of annoying. It's kind of like when analytics really popped up in the NBA and everything was like really heavy analytics. Like, I understand that we want to look at the numbers and how certain things play out, but we let the game just play out as it does in reality, rather than just being so number heavy. So yeah, the lists have bothered me a little bit recently. But yeah, I'm just excited that football is gearing up. We're about a month away, I believe. So looking forward to seeing the actual product on the field.
Yep. Almost time for fantasy football season. Time to run it back.
And we're going to have some fun discussions about that. I'll save that for later. But for now, that's really all that we got. I think this was a good episode in its own right. Also a good setup for some other discussions that we're going to have in future episodes, interviews and things are on the way. So definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening to everything. It's your boy G. I'm closing now, but actually just random things as we do. You have any other random things? I know we put some things at the bottom there that we can return to later on. You want to talk about them now or save them for later on?
I mean, we can save most of it for later because you haven't watched Loki, right?
Right. Yeah. We'll save it all. We'll save it all. And actually, just with that one point, my point about Loki was not about watching it. It's that you watched Dave and Loki, but you haven't watched Snowfall. How does that work out?
The thing is that, like, with those shows, it's just one episode a week. Like Snowfall, I got to commit to watching the 40 that I haven't watched because I haven't seen any of Snowfall.
Yeah, I'm saying, how are you late to begin with? Like you should have caught on.
I feel like a lot of people were kind of late. Like people started hyping Snowfall at like.
I was somewhat late,
2?
but I at least tuned in and caught up. You still haven't seen anything.
Yeah, nah. I mean, because I don't really watch a whole lot of TV that's like on television. Like I usually stream my stuff.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't have Hulu for a while, so like I didn't have access to it.
Gotcha.
I have Hulu now, so I'm gonna watch Snowfall. But the other shows, like Dave, I'd already watched season 1 last year, and like the Disney show, like that it was only 6 episodes, so like 45 minutes a week, like I could do that.
Knock it out real quick.
Snowfall, I gotta commit to like watching it for a couple weeks, but I definitely will. It's still on the list for sure.
Yeah, definitely check that out because when season, I think it's 4, when that comes back. Definitely going to be a fun one to tune into. So, yeah, we'll get to the rest of the things later on. There's plenty of other music things that we add in at the episode that we'll discuss later on, shows and all that kind of stuff that we will return to. But for now, again, just another good episode in the books. Looking forward to what's to come from us. A lot of good interviews we're trying to get lined up for you guys and things. So, fun things ahead for the pod here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow us, IG. TT is TikTok, if I didn't mention that earlier. TikTok, section 300. Not Christian Thompson again for another episode. We'll save that for later on. Twitter, section 300 Sports. Excuse me. Yeah, just great things across the board, man. Love to chat with y'all. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys again soon. Appreciate you for tuning in. It's your boy G at Just Say G and Alec at LakersFan24. Follow us online. We'll be sure to continue conversations from the show online after this. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, we're out of here. We'll see you guys next week, man. Peace.
Deuces.